Hi everybody, Shelly here. So today's video is going to teach you how to paint transitions, how to glaze, and how to do oiling out. I also have a bonus technique for you at the end, so stay tuned for that. So if you're currently painting transitions in a manner where you are basically blending one light color into a dark or vice versa, then you are definitely going to want to watch today's video on how to paint transitions properly. This is going to work with pretty much any medium, acrylic, watercolor. This is how you paint from one area that's a different color towards a different value color, say a light area towards a dark or shadow area, or vice versa. I'm also going to talk to you about glazing. We're going to be glazing over dried oil paint, and I'm going to be using an oil-based glazing technique. The technique will work towards acrylic paint if you want to just use water-based medium, and then oiling out, of course, you're not going to really need to do that with acrylic paint, but for oil painting, if you've got a dried painting and it's been sitting around, then you're going to want to understand how to do oiling out so that you can see your colors fresh again and be able to add to the painting, seeing the colors the way you would want the final result to be. So stay tuned, and I'm going to have a bonus tip for you at the end, so you'll want to stick around for that. All right, let's do it. Okay, let me show you how to paint a transition. So what a transition is a lighter color moving towards a darker color or vice versa. So we'll start by putting down our light value. Okay. Followed by slightly darker value. We're going to butt that right up next to the initial color. Now you can leave that as is, or you can stitch together these edges where they meet, just like that. It's kind of a back and forth motion where you're stitching the edges. So here is our mid value. So we've got two lighter values and now a mid value. So a lot of times when I paint, I do not stitch together the value steps. I just let them stand as is, because usually I'm going back over top of them in other directions, but I want you to see the steps here. Just to show you again, I'm going to stitch these guys together, just a sort of a back and forth motion just along the edge where they meet. Soften that up. Here we go. And now we're getting in a little bit darker, and I'm overlapping the edges slightly. But I'm not blending. I'm not pulling from one color to a dark color. It's never a great idea to blend from a light to a dark with just the two colors, the light color and the dark color. You need these intermediate steps of color. And here's our stitching. There we go. And still darker yet. You would see something like this if you're working from the front part of a face where the cheek is in the light, and you want to move towards the shadow side of the face away from the light. You would walk towards the shadow in the same manner, going from the light, which is usually cooler, towards the shadow, which tends to get warmer. And then here's the darkest part that we've made it to. Okay, and we'll just stitch the edges together. Beautiful. And there you have a light to dark transition where the lights are cool, moving through the mid values and into the warmer, darker shadow colors. Let me show you one more with flesh tones, since we're here with flesh. We'll take this very, very light light flesh tone. Put that here. So it's a cool light. And now we're moving into a little bit darker, tiny bit warmer color. I'm not even going to stitch those together. And now a little bit darker and warmer still yet. Quite often when you move from a cool light, you're moving towards a warm shadow or warm dark. And here is our dark, which is quite warm. And there you have that. Transition light to dark, cool to warm. Let me just demonstrate what you don't want to do. So if you have a very light color and you have him here, and then you have a dark color over here. Now you need to fill in the gap. This is what you don't want to do. You don't want to start blending the two like so. It's going to give you a muddy appearance, which you don't want. So that would be an example of what not to do. So that's blending from a dark to a light. And it's just not a desirable effect in the middle. It will give you a much better result if you actually step across an area from light to dark using different paint colors. If you want your transitions to blend together more subtly, you can overlap your brush strokes closer together. You can do more of the stitching. It just depends on your own unique style and how much of a smooth texture you want. Or do you want it more painterly style, or do you want to keep it very smooth and more soft? So here's an example of a cheek in the light, and you're stepping towards the shadow with getting slightly warmer and slightly darker. And these bands of color have been stitched together. And when you view it overall, it gives you a nice effect. You would not have had that colorful, nice effect if you just blended from the light on the cheek to the shadow on the side of the face. All right, let me show you glazing. So we have started with a already transparent paint, Alizarin Crimson, and we're just going to add a little bit of walnut oil. You can mix that right into there. You have to be careful not to mix too much oil with your paint, or you'll cause the paint film, the resulting paint film. You will not get the desired paint film. The pigments will be too thinned. Okay, so that looks good. It's already a transparent paint, so you don't need a lot of oil. The whole point of glazing is to change the tone of something or the color. So we're going to glaze over this lighter part here. It's pretty neutral right now. Let's say we wanted to warm it up. The beauty of glazing, you're doing that over an already dried paint. If you don't like the result you get, you can just wipe it off and start over with a different color. You can mix colors to your glaze. Like if I wanted to mix a transparent yellow in with this, it'd get a little bit more orangey. Let's see. I'm using a soft-haired brush. You can see how that's very transparent. Now the Alizarin Crimson is pretty strong color. Pull it over to this other flesh tone a little more lightly. So So you can see there. Now, let's wipe a little bit of it away. And that lessens it. If we keep wiping, it'll completely remove it. So let's say we wanted to try it with just a little less. So I wiped my brush off and now I'm coming back over it. So you can change the degree by wiping some away. Don't want to really add more oil though. There's half and half. So that's glazing. So we have a neutral color that we've warmed up with the Elysian Crimson. So transparent paint mixed with a little bit of oil will give you a nice glazing top color. So there's a technique with painting. It's called oiling out. And you want to do this with a walnut oil or perhaps a linseed oil. I'm going to use the walnut oil. And the reason that you would want to do this is if you've painted a painting and it's been sitting and it's dried, maybe you just kind of felt you were done working on it, but now you've looked at it for a while and you want to go back in and paint on top of it. You want to go ahead and put a little bit of oil on a cloth, a cotton cloth or a polyester fabric cloth, something that will be lint free. I like to keep old t-shirts that I no longer want to wear, especially the white ones, and just cut them up for this purpose. And what you want to do is just lightly rub the oil on top of your painting. You can see it's dry, there's no paint coming off. And that is how you oil out. Oh, and before you oil out a painting that's been sitting, you definitely want to clean it first. And you want to do that with 1 part ammonia to 5 parts water. Just lightly wipe the surface of the painting off, let it dry. Usually takes 2 to 5 minutes to dry. And then you can do your oiling out on top of your clean painting. After the oil is applied, then you're ready to start painting, and you can just apply regular paint from the tube on top of your oiled out painting. Or you can apply paint that's thinned with a little bit of oil on top of your painting as well. That's following the fat over lean rule. So I wanted to show you the different brush stroke marks that you can make. So this is our round. And rounds will usually make a nice long stroke. So that's the mark you will get from your round, like a line. So this is our flat. Flat will give you a nice wide mark when you use it in a flat method. But you can also turn a flat on its edge and get a straight line, thin line. Now if you want something more scrumbly or scratchy, where you're dabbing and you're letting the underlayers of your paint show through, you can use a wide, sort of splayed open brush. I use older brushes for this effect. And my favorite brush is the comber. Gives you nice wispy brush marks. So those are just a few of the basic brush marks that you'll want to practice making.